Check, check, check. You good? I'm good.
I'm good. You good?
We're good.
I think we're all good. If we were any better, we'd be selling it.
Hell yeah. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of the Cast and Blast podcast. I'm your host, Pinche Ben. Joining me is my co-host and my crew, Robert Garcia.
You mean who? You ain't no Al. Here we
And
are
Jimmy
back
Trent.
at it again.
What's up?
The crew is here, guys, and we've been wanting to do something since we first started this podcast, and we're going to be tapping into it today. So the Cast and Blast podcast is a podcast about fishing and hunting and everything in between. Anything in the outdoors or on the water, we want to talk about it. Well, guess what? Sometimes when you're out in the water or sometimes when you're out in the field, you hear some things, don't you guys?
No, I've never heard nothing out there.
You might see some things, don't you guys?
Never seen anything out there.
Not at all.
But sometimes those things are unexplained. Sometimes those things are a little bit strange and can be a little bit unsettling.
That we have seen out there.
With that said, we want to tap into the strange and the unexplained. Bum, bum, bum.
Bum. Yeah, as the Hispanic culture says, it's all about the cucuy.
That's right. Jimmy, what do you guys call the cucuy?
What's a it sounds like
Okay.
a bird.
No. So
I don't know.
in if you grew
The
up Hispanic
boogeyman.
in the house, that's the boogeyman. You know,
Oh, the boogeyman,
They refer
yeah.
to him as the cucuy. You know, you gotta flip the light switch off, and you gotta haul ass to the next room before he catches you. You know it's
Dude, we've all ran down that dark hallway, like just beating feet down the hallway.
It's
like,
a thing.
Dude,
for
how many
us,
times
bro.
when you were a kid, when you your parents used to tell you, go turn off the light, you'd run down, turn the light, run home, run
Yeah.
run
Yeah.
back.
and you're fast too. You're gonna make it before that light diminishes.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
hauling ass.
You beat the shadow of the light.
Yeah, uh-huh.
You hit the bed just in time for your feet to come up, and something just nearly miss your feet.
and then you get under that blanket. You're like, if it can't see me, I'm
Yep.
good.
Yeah, that's right. So if you guys ain't scared yet or you're not laughing with us, you could be a little bit of both. And that's what we're going to be doing, man. We're going to tap into the world of strange and unexplained things you might encounter out in the woods. And there's been so many stories, so many legends, so many encounters, so many sightings, so many people reporting, hearing things, seeing things over a period of time that dates back, I don't know, hundreds of years ago, hundreds and hundreds of years ago.
Well, even more. I mean, there's reports in the Bible of certain things, you know. So, beginning of mankind, I guess we could say.
The truth is that when you start looking into it, let's get into cryptid or cryptozoology, right? The definition of a cryptid is something that hasn't been explained by the proof of science, whether it's DNA tests, hair follicles, blood samples, whatever you want to call it, how we've proved or how we classify it. But guys, has there not been animals to this day animals, water species, all those things that are still getting discovered today?
Every day. You know, I mean, hell, as we were getting ready for this and just kind of talking, you know, we were like, all right, well, let's see how many new discoveries there are since just the beginning of this year, 2025, 20 new species found, you know, in the world.
Crazy?
That's crazy. So
20 new species, like animal species?
yeah, animal species. And that's not counting, you know, your oceanic, deep sea type stuff. Just 20 new animal species found on land. I'm not going to go through what all those are, but with that being said, 20 new found we're in June now, 6-month time period. You can't tell me that there's not stuff out there that some of the folk legends and things like that, some of that has to be, I'm not going to say has to be true, but it's very viable. It could be.
I
And
mean,
what would you say is the validity behind it? I mean, we could sit here and spin our wheels and, you know, and kind of go in circles dancing around the idea of, well, I don't believe that or I believe that. And, you know, there's going to be some things we talk about that we may not necessarily believe, huh?
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff I do believe and a lot of stuff I'm not going to say don't believe. I'm going to keep an open mind about it, but there's a lot of ways out there that you think would prove that this being exists. You know what I mean? With the trail cameras you have out there, the thermals you have out there, the drones you have out there, the amount of people there's a larger population of people, the highest population of people on Earth right now than ever. So you would think that, maybe there's going to be some scientific evidence of this stuff, but if it's been, not unseen, but unproven for this many years, there's a reason why.
Right.
And I think some of that is what we're going to discuss, some of those reasons.
Is it something that doesn't want to be uncovered? Is it something that it's just that we saw it, we don't know what it is?
It's the nature of creatures, right?
Yeah, that's what they do. I mean, for the people that are in the woods a lot of the times, without calling to, say, a bobcat, if you're not calling to a bobcat, you rarely see them. You know what I mean? Or fox, a lot of times fox. But bobcat, I'm going to say bobcat in our area most, it's a very prominent animal that you see very little of, unless you're targeting calling that animal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's amazing how you're out in the woods so long, you get keen to what you're hunting. You go out in the woods, and they're like, for us, we're looking for whitetail, we're looking for coyote, we're looking for bobcats. So you're keen on that, and when you're out there and you hear that one sound or you see that one shape, you've hunted for, how long have you hunted for deer?
Yeah, a long
Years.
time.
So
yeah.
you can look at a deer with just in the moonlight and be like, that's a deer. Mm-hmm. Something else can walk out and be like, that's not a deer.
That's not a deer.
How do you explain that?
Yeah. and not only sight but sounds, man. You hear some crazy, you hear some crazy stuff out in the woods.
And I know that we probably have our own stories that we're going to be sharing. I know I've seen some things out while hunting with our friends down at Team Unexpected. Going down there, I was on a pig hunt with those guys. Oh, Lewis and I were sitting in a blind together, and we saw something that I'm going to probably ask him to share his part or his perspective. And man, we've had some good times out there, and I know Jimmy's laughing, but there was another night where Jimmy and I were in a blind, and we heard some things.
Yeah.
But it's not. We just felt like, why not talk about it? Why not?
Yeah.
Why not bring up the conversation? Let's open the door
to let everyone call us crazy, because we are.
Yeah, and I don't want people to think that we're tripping and we're on this kick. We're not. There's a lot of if you get out in the woods a lot and you hang out at deer camp and you start talking to the old school guys, you start hearing a couple stories, and there's a reason for that.
If kids are around, it's usually the boogeyman or the, what's it called?
El cucuy.
El cucuy.
El cucuy. You got to have that cucuy.
And that's another thing. So, could these just be legends that parents were using to scare kids from playing out in the dark?
Who knows?
Could it just be stories that maybe ranchers were telling others that they just wanted to keep people off their property?
True story.
And we can go into maybe, let's talk about a little bit of like the examples, right? So Jimmy, what would you say is an example of maybe a story or a creature or something that you know of that you've heard of since maybe you were a kid, or maybe you just got introduced to it here recently or something,
So growing up where I did in southeast Oklahoma, for anybody that's ever been there, like say the Hochatown, Broken Bow, Honubby, Antlers, Rattan area, everything is Bigfoot around there. So it's
and would you guys refer to it as Bigfoot?
Yeah, Bigfoot. Yeah.
So this was a creature, I guess, that you guys, maybe there were sightings or anything like that. So you guys would talk about it.
Yeah, I mean, growing up as a kid, I would always hear, stories of Bigfoot. Always, any time that, my uncles, my dad, my grandpa, or some of their friends and things like that were hanging around. There's going to be a Bigfoot story in there somewhere, and it's so prominent around there. There's a lot of sightings. It's all over. What is it? BRFO, the Bigfoot. Help me out here, Ben.
BFRO, Bigfoot Research Organization, I believe.
That's it right there. So they've been out in that area a lot, doing a lot of searching and interviews and things like that. And not to sound corny or crazy, but I'm in that, right? Back in '95, a few of my cousins and I, we had a sighting, or what we thought was, and my cousin reached out, or I don't know exactly how it happened. I'd already left for the military when this happened, but we had an incident happen in '95, And then next thing I know, I found this story on the internet where my older cousin that was with me or with us, the group of us, did an interview with them, and and it's all out there, and we'll talk about it. We'll go. I'll read the story that's on there. We maybe put the link in the description or something for anybody that wants to check it out. And it shows you on a map the area that we're talking about, and if you see it on a map, you're going to be like, damn. There's plenty of room to roam out there for a big-ass animal to not be seen frequently. When I say frequently, every day, you know what I mean?
Right.
So there's room to roam out there.
So would you say with all these mythical creatures, whatever you want to call it, would you say that a lot of these folks kind of debunk it because they say, I don't want all that attention on my property. I don't want all that coming to my city. There's a possibility that it is true. There's a possibility that it's a hoax, but the people play a big part in that too. You believe that a lot of those get debunked because they're like, we don't want all that noise in our town.
I think it is, man. So you kind of hit the nail on the head when you say you're either going to stand behind it and be like, yeah, there very well could be something out there, or there's absolutely not. It's all folklore.
Yeah.
But there's also that somewhere in the middle right there where there could be the folks that say, I see something all the time. I know something's there. Mm-hmm. I have pictures to prove it. I have hair samples. I have stool samples. Whatever the case is, I don't want this to be released to the public because then, I mean, it's going to be a tourist trap. You're going to have people everywhere. You're going to have, and there's people that don't want that. They live where they live for that quiet life for that reason. It's a unique
situation, For some folks, it's a scary thing. Like, oh man, I saw that. I'm just going to turn my head. I never saw it. But then you've got the folks that, man, that's cool. It's the undefined, the unknown. I'm going to let it roam. I want it to be left alone. I want him to visit as much as he want. That's going to be between me and him.
So that's crazy that I'm hearing you guys talk about this, and I want to ask you guys something. So, Jimmy, you and I have been out doing an observation sit, and we're sitting out there in the woods, and we're just looking at a tree line and whatnot, and we're sitting down. We get a lot of time, a lot of downtime, you could say, sitting out there. And one time I asked you, hey, man, what if Bigfoot came out? Would you shoot him? What? As a hunter, as a outdoorsman, what is your stance? And Robert, I'll ask you the same thing. Like, if you saw Bigfoot, would you take a shot?
My answer is yes. I would take a shot.
Why?
I would take a shot with a camera, but I wouldn't take a shot with a gun.
Ooh, plot twist.
Yeah.
I like
plot
that.
Twist. Yeah, I have no. I mean, Bigfoot could knock on my front door, and I'm not going to shoot him, right? For what? What reason would you do it?
You could be the guy who puts all this to rest, man. You could be the one who says, I have evidence right here. I mean, is that not something that people are interested in doing?
Yeah, they could. I mean, I think most people probably would shoot it. For whatever reason, I'm not going to say I don't know why. I know why they would. A lot of people look for that publicity, that spotlight, that 15 minutes of fame or something like that. That's not me, man. If there's a animal, a species like Bigfoot, and I had the opportunity to shoot him, which, again, I'm going to say have the opportunity again to shoot him, I would not do it. No. Would you?
I don't think I would. It would be a circumstance. So, if we're out there and say he comes up and I have the ability to pull out the old technology and, AI is a crazy thing. You would have a hard time people believing you, but wholeheartedly. For me, it would be if he was out there and I'm just observing him or she.
Yeah, you're bringing a good point.
It's one of those things. I think I would be along that same deal. I wouldn't shoot now. Say if he approached me in a aggressive manner. Now that changes the whole scenario. But
if it's me or you, me or him,
yeah. I think that's be the only reason I would pull that trigger. But I think I would be along the lines with the folklore. I would say he's out here, he's cool. You know what? Come out and shoot a deer. Come out and check out the Cast and Blast. Get you a cool hunt. Come get you a whitetail deer. You might get to see the bonus, and the old big man will walk out.
The old big man.
Leave him be.
Yeah,
that's mine.
Have you guys seen the all the Bigfoot like AI videos that are just like
Man,
blowing
I
up
am
everywhere.
I am absolutely obsessed. I cannot
stop it.
watching.
Yeah.
And I just want more of it. I could watch that all day. It's so good.
I wish I could do the same thing with winning lottery numbers, and it just floods my Facebook
Yeah.
with them. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen that way. It's all about Cialis and everything else.
Yeah. Man, I got to tell you, I dropped the fucking hammer on him, dude.
You would drop the hammer on him.
I dropped the hammer, and here's why.
Where would you shoot him at?
I'd shoot him right between the eyes.
Yeah. Okay.
It'd be a headshot.
that would do it.
There's the only...
I've seen you shoot though, Ben.
You
I'm joking.
you have. You've also seen the carnage when
No, Bigfoot's dead. If you're aiming at him, he's dead.
You've also seen the freaking liver hanging out on the other side.
That
But I'm just like, I'm one of those guys who, for one, Jimmy, you know, and Robert, you know, I do have a respect for wildlife. I have a respect for animals. I just feel like, you know, I'm saying that, bro, and I don't know. I say that because I just want to put it to rest, man. And there's nobody who has, you know, said, "Hey, I'm standing here next to a." Well, is there? Is there anybody who's said that? I mean, it's kind of open to.
And anybody that said what?
They've shot Bigfoot. Have you heard stories about people?
I have, yeah.
Have you kind of gone down that rabbit hole?
Imagine going through a really good movie, right? You're watching this movie, and then, you know, it's a big thing. You're watching a movie. What's the most important part? The ending, right? Was it good? Was it bad?
Or I
Trash
hated the ending because it left me.
Okay, for me, it's like, boom, I shot him. Everything for centuries is done. It's squashed.
Done.
It's Sasquatch.
There's a small part of me that still wants that mystery to hang around. It's like you can't just squash it all at once. Like,
that would feel
dream crushing.
Okay. I'm going to back up a little bit where I said that I wouldn't shoot him. There's certain because it's Bigfoot, Yeti, Sasquatch. Are they all the same? Is it they're only different by region?
I feel to believe they are. I mean,
no. Would they be same species?
It depends who you ask, man. It depends who you ask, because there's some people who claim that this isn't even a real creature and it's just either a fixation of your imagination or some kind of phenomena, some kind of, like, I won't say paranormal, but some kind of dimension that like a portal that you're seeing. Have you heard of that?
I have heard of that. Well, thank you, sent me down that rabbit hole. And I had never seen it from that perspective until recently, and I was like, oh, well, shit, you know, there's...
Kind of makes sense.
Yeah, there could be some sense to this. It could make sense, but
there could also be a real thing happening, and the government is doing everything they can to cover it up. Could there not?
The government wouldn't do that. The government wouldn't do that.
But you know that's just, man. When you go out there and you run into stuff like this, like, okay, if you all came to me and said, "Hey, Robert, we went out and we saw this the other day." Okay, cool. How many beers y'all have? You know? Or did Ben wake up in the middle of the night and had to go pee, and here he is in his boxers out in the front yard of the cabin? You know, whatever.
Yeah. Right.
But when you have so many stories from not only that area, but different areas of the country.
All over.
I mean, all over. Like, if I tell you that this guy went and caught a 10-pound bass out of this little, you know, half-acre pond, but there was 3 other guys that said they caught the same fish, like, it's hard to just disregard it and say it's not real.
Yeah.
How do you say? Where do you divide that?
Pictures.
I think it's... Yeah, or the individual, anybody that sees it, hears about it, whatever, they're just going to have their own perception of it, and they're going to make up their own mind, and everybody's going to be different.
Fishing tales.
Exactly. We're back to when you first were reeling it in was this big, and as you're putting him in, and the story ends and he's this big, you know. Yeah. Everybody's so good at adding onto it.
What are the most prominent crypto creatures, I guess, in the world, right? Mm-hmm. So, to me, the big 3 are going to be Bigfoot, Loch Ness, and maybe Chupacabra.
Chupacabra was a big one.
Yeah.
Man, what happened to the Chupacabra? Like, where did it go? You remember back? Like, I remember in the mid-'90s, I remember there was, coffee mugs, stuffed animals, T-shirts, hats. I mean, everywhere you went, there was Chupacabra, this, that. And back then, before I would say, was the internet kind of around? I wouldn't say so.
95? No, I think
not
we're
still.
still. We were on the cusp of dial-up.
Do you remember those magazines like The Sun, The Star?
Oh, yeah.
Like The Inquirer.
Yeah,
it was kind of like
one.
those.
Yeah.
Those magazines used to have a lot of those articles in them, and I remember my dad used to read those all the time. So I was always seeing those on the table, and I'd read them, and I'd be like, "Oh, grab the Chupacabra."
I'd always see them on the back of the toilet, like on the toilet. Yeah, back of the toilet.
I remember seeing all those magazines when we were in line at Piggly Wiggly.
Yeah.
Cashing out groceries, and they used to keep all those
Yeah.
crazy, the unknown magazines.
And the same goes for Loch Ness Monster, man. Like, it's just not talked about.
all
But
of it.
if you go, like, about 10 years ago, I got a chance to go travel Scotland, and I was in Inverness, and I got to sit there and stare over Loch Ness, and you best believe I was out there looking for her.
Did you see him?
I did not.
Him?
I did not. I didn't even see a floating turd on that lake, bro. It was just like big open lake. It was beautiful, but I didn't see no Loch Ness. I thought I was gonna see this towering creature come out like a submarine or something, like a periscope.
Looking like a water bronchosaurus.
Yeah, something, But again, you just don't hear about it too much. But Bigfoot, you seem to hear about it a lot.
Well, for me, if I think about the big three, it's the most plausible to be real.
Mm-hmm.
So I have the most, I guess, faith that could be real. It could be. Probably not. I get it. Probably not, but don't crush my dreams.
But with your personal approach and your experiences on this tells you different.
It does, yeah.
For somebody that never leaves,
I would tell
goes to work in the house and watches Netflix every day, never been in the woods hunting, never had the experiences you had, that's a whole different view on it.
And I'm not trying to say I'm like some woodsman badass or nothing, but I've probably spent more time in the woods than most people.
I beg to differ. I've seen you chasing raccoons.
Yeah.
We didn't say we were raccoon hunting experts or anything like that. That's for damn sure. But I will tell you this. Just in what we do as outfitters, man, we're out there a lot. I mean, more than half a year we're out in the woods. And when we're not in the woods, we're on the water with Robert,
For 5 months out of the year, we're in the woods 24 hours a day for 3 to 4 days a week. And growing up, I lived out in the woods basically, and out there, it's hard to see something with your own eyes and then tell yourself, that's not what you're looking at. Like, don't believe what you're seeing right now with your own eyes.
Well, I could tell you this. I'm hearing what you're saying, and I don't discredit it, right?
So that's crazy that I somewhat discredited myself, knowing that I seen what I seen, went through what I went through, heard noises that I've heard, and then to hear Ben say I don't discredit it, it adds more validity in my mind for me. Be like, you know what, just fucking stand up and say you saw what you saw.
So have you personally heard the sounds associate with, I went into this deep rabbit hole on this whole Bigfoot, Squatch, whatever you want to call them, and there's certain sounds, there's calls associated with that. Did you ever have any close encounters with that?
Close encounter with sound. So I've heard sounds.
They got the howl, they've got the knock.
We're not talking about the banjos, Jimmy.
Yeah, but a ding, 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 ding. So I've heard what you would call some howls that I don't know what
unexplicable.
Unexplicable.
Okay.
So a lot of the times, if you hear a big bull, like cattle, in the distance, they can let out a sound that is terrifying. A lot of people don't know what it is, but I know what those sounds like.
Hell, we've been scared by a donkey here and there.
And that's what we're saying. We're out in the woods so long. You walk out the front door of the cabin and you can name you've got ticks and you know which one who is who, which name goes what.
Yeah.
So when you're out there, you're keen to that.
You're keen to every sight, sound, smell, everything. I have heard sounds that howls. When I say howls, like deep and just
just got a different tone.
Complete different tone. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what that is. Did I get scared and leave? I didn't. Did the hair on the back of my neck stand up? And I'm like, oh, damn, what are you doing, man? You might want to beat feet out of here. It does, but just in the back of your mind, you're like, it's not what I think it is. So you just keep moving.
Yeah.
And then you never, what is it? You don't know. You know what I mean?
And that's the part I'm saying. Part of you don't want to shoot them because for how long have you thought, man, that's that mystery that lives within you that you want to keep going. So imagine shooting them, boom, all that's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So we're not digging too deep here. We're talking about, we've covered Sasquatch. We're talking about different cryptids. We're talking about strange and unknown. And we're going to get deeper into this. And I think we're going to make this a series where we may cover specific stories on each one of these. Kind of keep you guys watching and keep you guys tuned in. But here's one thing that I kind of find very interesting. The Sasquatch, the Bigfoot, the big guy. In today's world, with technology as advanced as it is, you would think as many trail cams as there are out there, as many, drones as we got.
Freaking thermal on drones. Yeah. I mean, that's my big question. Yeah.
That's what makes it hard to believe.
So, on that note, on the other hand, the Chupacabra, there has been recorded evidence left behind. That's the difference. Sasquatch isn't leaving animals behind injured. There is what we claim that a Chupacabra did a physical harm to animals, and that's why it's unexplained. Mm-hmm. But there is a physical evidence of a dead animal with what is described as 2 surgically precise fang marks in its neck or area of where major arteries would be, and there is 0 blood.
What Chupacabra is that? Goat sucker?
That's exactly the translation, correct?
I think that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's where it started because it started attacking goats first before, and then it went way out of hand after that.
Yeah, because there was other different landowners saying, "Hey, I got the same thing happening on my cattle, or I got this happening on
sheep and goats,
sheep, chicken, whatever." But these animals that it was leaving behind, supposedly, right? They were completely cleaned out of blood. Like something that it would take...
Like a raisin.
Something that would take a medical procedure to precisely do. And it's to scientists that have done tests on these carcasses, to forensic investigators.
And it's a clean kill site, right? Is what you're saying. I mean, it's... You're not going to find nothing but the 2 marks.
Dude, their
carcass is there. The only thing you don't find is the blood.
Yeah.
No bloodshed, no stain.
It's not even a blood drop on the ground.
Yeah,
and that's crazy, bro. So that just adds to the mystery, right? And we'll get into some real stories, and we'll tap into that. So far we've covered Sasquatch, we've covered Chupacabra, and this Chupacabra was this mythical creature that we claim that people have seen, and it looks like some kind of dog-like, maybe mangy coyote or something. And
I've also heard people say that Chupacabra could be part of a shapeshifter. It could be a shapeshifter. I don't know.
Which gets us talking about skinwalkers.
Skinwalkers, shapeshifters,
What is a skinwalker, and what does that mean? Like, what do people, when we talk about this stuff, again, I'm not making stuff up, guys. I'm not trying to get you to go hide under your bed at night.
This is what's on the menu out there. We're just picking off of it.
Yeah, bro. We're just tapping into the menu, man. We haven't even gotten to the main course yet.
Exactly. If you guys out there have any stories, we all hunt, and there's a lot of you guys that don't hunt. Viewers, y'all send it out. Give it a like. If you got a friend, if you got a personal story, reach out to Ben and us, and maybe we can put your story on. Maybe we can just highlight it.
Yeah. If you're watching it, put it in the comments. You can put your comments there. If you want to reach out to us via email, hit us up at info@castandblastoutfitters.com.
There you go. But so we've talked about the Squatch. We've talked about Chupacabra.
It's Bigfoot,
which, by the way, his soap sucks. Broke me out. Damn near had to go to the hospital. So don't. Yeah, I don't know about him.
Don't recommend their soap.
I don't know about him, but his soap sucks.
I caught a rash on my ass.
Yeah,
exactly.
So I'm gonna go back. We've done Bigfoot, Chupacabra, skinwalkers. These are things that have been reported to maybe take and shape shift Yeah. To different figures, whether it's the shape of a woman or the shape of a goat or the shape of a serpent or whatever, it's whatever people have seen, right? I know I've seen something that took the shape of an owl.
Shapeshifters, man.
And I'll share that story, and I actually want to bring somebody in to talk about what we both saw together, because we were literally handing a thermal back and forth, bro. Like, let me see. I'm seeing what you're seeing. You see what I see? Yeah. Going back and forth. And we saw what we saw, bro.
Yeah. There's crazy shit out there. No doubt. There's no doubt.
And that gets me going to, if we're talking about like an owl shape or figure, there's a legend in Texas that we know of called La Lechuza.
La Lechuza. Yeah.
And Robert, can you talk a little bit about that,
Other than being threatened by it by elderlies all the time,
Yeah.
Lechuza's basically, it's an owl, and it perches up, and if it sees you, it's kind of like it's kind of hard to explain, because now as you're older, it kind of whatever, but that was a thing, and it always took the form of an owl, and there's different meanings to it. There's different variations of it. I just know that Lechuza's just been one of those things. You're outside.
I mean, an owl in itself is creepy in itself, is it not? Like, how many times have you encountered an owl, whether it's in an old barn or, something like that, and you're just like, it catches you off guard, scares the crap out of you?
But answer me this. Does age have to do any difference in how you perceive these mythical creatures?
I think it does.
You're 9 years old, and I tell you, hey, man, the goat sucker's out there. You're going to see it versus, hey, Jimmy, we're in the stand, and it's setting, we're watching deer. And I was like, Jimmy, what's that over there in the corner of that woods? And we're much more than 9 years old. Mm-hmm. So now you look at it in a different situation, right? Is it still scary, or is it more intriguing?
I think it's a little bit of both. Intriguing, scary is intriguing to me. And when I was a kid, I think I believed stuff less than what I believe right now. And when I say that, like Ben's owl story, I believe that they seen something that was unexplainable to them. And I say that because they're two grown men, and they have absolutely zero reason to lie to me. Mm-hmm. And I know Ben's mannerisms. I know his emotions when he's telling a story.
Right.
And I can tell that he's being 100% truthful. He had no clue what the hell was going on. So that gives validity to that story for me. As a kid, I wouldn't be able to pick up on some of those clues and things like that.
Right. So it sounds like we got a room full of stories, guys. And I know this is just an introduction to this, but I'm pretty excited about what's going to follow about this. I know you guys got some great stories.
It can be fun.
Think of anything else.
Well, I'll take it back. Not stories, experiences.
Well, yeah. Depending on
a story is if I say it's a story, it's a story.
Yeah, that's true. You're right.
But when you got experience and you got the hair raising on the back of your neck to follow it up, and it's a different approach.
It is. And I've seen other things, like Ben was talking about, like the Chupacabra sucking blood. We had cattle. We would have cattle dismembered to the point to where biologists or researchers or whatever would come out. We had a grown bull, 2,000+ pound bull, just maimed and just picked apart.
No bite marks, no nothing. It was ripped apart.
Apart.
Jimmy, can I ask you something, man? Can I ask you something? And you're gonna here moving forward as we start this series, and we don't want to take away from what we do. We're a fishing and hunting podcast, but we're talking about things that are related to fishing and hunting. We have seen some crazy stuff going out fishing.
You find this stuff out fishing and hunting. Without being out fishing and hunting, I wouldn't have seen the stuff that I've seen.
Yeah.
Your owl, you wouldn't have seen, and I know, Robert, you've seen.
Yeah. True story. I have my biggest buck. I fished. I did not shoot, and I have pictures to prove it.
Say what?
My biggest buck was not taken in the woods. It was taken on the water.
Okay, let's hear that.
We're fishing on Lake Belton. It's my wife and I. We're out there. It's, the standard 32 degrees in the winter. We're blaring ready to go because nobody's on the water.
And let's be clear, we're in Central Texas. 32 in the winter is cold.
Yeah, Lake Belton is cold at that point in time. And we're just fishing the bank, and all of a sudden, I feel it, hook sets are free, and that's just a standard rule. And my lure feels like it ripped across something, and I set the hook. Well, it's coming. There's no head shakes, but I can feel
dead
something.
weight.
So I'm thinking, man, I got me a go stick fish.
Tree pounder.
Tree pounder. Yeah, so I get this thing to the boat, and I start seeing the limbs coming up. I was like, that's a funny looking limb, and I get it to the boat. It's probably like I don't remember the exact, somewhere probably 9-10 point buck.
Nice.
That was floating somewhere subsurface where I was fishing, and I hooked that sucker.
So body and all, not just
body and all complete, but he had been in there so long that his fur was already coming to come off. You could see his skin underneath, and but I'm telling you, man, I grabbed his antlers by the edge of the boat, and I'm holding them in the water, just doing this number.
Man, you got any pictures of that?
His rack is like this.
that's badass.
Biggest
That's cool.
buck I ever fished. I didn't shoot it.
Biggest buck I ever. I've never fished a buck, so
Yeah.
I've also never hunted a fish, but there's still time.
you can hunt. We talked about that.
That's
bow
what we
fishing.
call cast and blast.
That's right. That's right. You can't marry them together any better than that.
If you can't fish a buck, just stay home.
Yeah. But yeah, so
always say I'm a better guide than I am a fisherman, so that's probably why I ended up with that.
you know me, I'm known as the hydrilla killer.
Oh,
I pull that in all the time. I might not be having the biggest fish, but I'll pull the most hydrilla out the bottom.
You ain't
of
got
the
the
lake.
meat, but you got the salad to go with
There
it.
you go.
So I have a question for y'all. For all these cryptids, folklore stories and everything that's out there, if you were to be taken out by one, what would you want? Which one would you rather it be?
I know. Off the top of my head.
Go ahead, Ben.
I know. I have to be taken out by La Llorona.
Ooh, man.
And Robert, you might know what I'm talking about. Jimmy, you might
I don't
not.
have a clue.
All right, so La Llorona was a Texas urban legend that there's supposedly a woman figure who takes...
She lost her children.
She lost
her children drowned in a river.
yes.
So
And we don't know what river. We don't know what.
We just know a river.
Yeah.
So her children drowned in the river, and the folklore is that you can hear her yelling for her children by the river. My children, my children. And
We have a
that
story.
was La Llorona.
Okay, we
She
have
would
a
be crying for her children.
we have a story like that too. And Ben asked me the other day. He was like, "Where are you from? Is there a river called Boggy around where you're from?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, hell yeah. There's two of them actually. There's Muddy Boggy and Clear Boggy." And he's like, "No way." But we have a story like that because there's one of the old steel bridges,
Yeah.
and that's going across that river, way out in the dirt roads, in the middle of nowhere. And there's a story somewhere along those lines, just like that bridge is haunted with a story like that.
Have you guys ever heard of the legend of Boggy Creek?
I don't think I have.
I have.
So this is like the most famous Sasquatch, story, maybe turned into a book and a movie.
Yeah, it
and
was
that's
a
why
film.
I was like, Jimmy, where exactly was this at? Where were you? Tell me, are you by a creek? Yeah, is there a Boggy Creek? And he's like, yeah, there's a Boggy Creek. I'm like, nah, man.
I showed him on a map. It's like, here's where I was. Here's Boggy. And he was
Man.
like, what? No way.
To our defense, Boggy Creek does travel from Texas all the way up Arkansas to freaking Minnesota. I don't know.
I think every state has
Yeah.
has a river, creek named Boggy though. So
Yeah. But I mean, I remember growing up and traveling from here to Louisiana. And I don't know what highway it is, but there's a highway that you cross and it's just like 27 miles of bridge. And you got water to your left and right.
Pontchartrain.
And you're there. Is it not 27 miles? It's almost
I think it's 21, but very eerie.
yes.
I've crossed that bridge so many more times than I want to say. I used to have to work in Louisiana often, and man, it's just that
Yeah.
Yes.
it just seems like for hours. It's not that long, but man, it seems forever.
It's pretty cool in the daylight, but at night it's just like
Yeah.
looking into the abyss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine traveling across that in an old busted up Chevy Malibu with the windows down and you're just driving down. There's probably no radio. No, I do take that back. I remember listening to Hank Williams on the way in a cassette. Yeah.
Nice.
So
That's a good trip, man.
that was all right. Hey, shout out to Hank Williams. It was Hank Williams Jr. But we're driving down. No, it was Hank Williams Sr. Yeah, yeah. It was a good old cassette, and we're driving down, and I'm just looking out the window, and like you said, Robert, you're hearing that tukum 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 tukum,
Yeah.
and you're just looking out, and all I kept thinking was, I grew up knowing what you're referring to Bigfoot as Bigfoot. You're saying it's Bigfoot,
It's Bigfoot.
and I grew up knowing it as the boggy creep
The boggy creep with a P?
with a P. I don't know if I was mispronouncing it, maybe,
That
but I
was,
thought it was the boggy creep.
That was Uncle Fred that got a camp tent site and never left.
That was too chewy, bro. Don't go over there.
Boggy creep.
Yeah, so I remember looking for the boggy creep, and we were driving over that, and if you look out either window on that road at night, I swear you think this is where he lives. You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a good spot, I guess. So what would you pick to be taken out of or taken out by?
Man, that's preferably by none of them, to be honest. But
yeah.
if we're gonna force our way down this hallway, I don't know. I'm not too much on getting taken out on the water. I think I'd have to duke it out with those Squatch.
Those Squatch?
I like
think
that.
so.
That's pretty cool. What about you, Jimmy?
Man, I think I would go with either, like a mermaid or siren. Just,
Ooh,
yeah, just
I don't know. It's something about just
make me feel good before it happens.
it's dark.
What is a
there's water.
siren? What is a siren? Is this where we get the term
It goes,
sirena?
woo, woo.
Is this where
Yeah.
we get the term sirena?
That's what happens when you call
Yeah.
it an ambulance. Well, this is the old mythical mermaid. It's the half woman, half fish. Some of them said it's half woman, half bird. But there's a lot of sailors out there that I used to follow a guy on YouTube. He would go live, and supposedly there was this one siren that would follow him. He would go down, I guess he would fish down the certain path, and there was a certain point in time of day he could call it and be like, he'd go to get out on the deck and go live, and he'd be like, here she comes.
Would he ever film it?
Yeah, it's live on YouTube. He's got a YouTube video, and he had a lot of views.
That's crazy.
Dude,
But
that's crazy.
He could
I've
call
never.
it, bro.
That's crazy.
Yeah, he would say, "Here we are at this point. This is where I see her." And as soon as he started trotting through there, in big old, commercial sized boat, and he just go over the side of the boat, and you can hear her calling, singing, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, dude, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
It's creepy.
You spend a lot of time on the water. Have you ever been in a body of water where you know that every species of fish in that body of water, what should be in there, but you see a wake, something on the, just under the surface, but causing a wake that's bigger than any fish species in that body of water?
I fish Belton, man. There ain't fish in Belton.
Yeah.
There ain't no damn fish in that
Ain't no
water.
fish in that
Not a
water.
damn one.
I can't say that I have. I mean, you
Rayburn, nothing like that. You seen, something that you.
you fish close to the bank, For those of you that don't fish, obviously, yes, we do buy boats, and yes, we do fish, not the middle of the lake, but the same edge of the lake that everybody does. But occasionally you hear things, out of the realm. Sometimes we ran into a pack of pigs. There's certain things that associate with that. Very few times, but yeah, there's sometimes it's just sounds. Never really saw anything, but just a sound like, okay.
Have you
That's
ever
really
picked
close.
up anything on your electronics where you're like, oh, what the hell is that?
All the time.
Good
All the
question.
time.
That is one thing, and it could be anything from a fish, a creature, to, man, if you go on Belton, Belton used to be an old town
Yeah.
that was flooded and turned into that lake. There's certain parts of that lake where you can go over, you see the structures still. You still see the pads of the old houses. There's a church out there where you can still see the peak and stuff like that. So that gets a little eerie. It's
Yeah,
like,
it gives you that. Gives you that
yeah.
feeling of.
It does. It gives
It's like Lake Amistad.
you. Yeah.
Yeah, there's structures on that lake and all that stuff. But man, I'm liking where this is going because I'm excited to where we're gonna take it. I know we're gonna get more in depth. We're gonna get people coming on and telling their stories. We're gonna try to. We invite you to bring your stories, your experiences. Maybe you can be on the podcast as a guest. Maybe we can have you call in. Maybe we can have you email us a story, and we'll share it here on the podcast. But I think what we ought to do, guys, is maybe we take each one of these cryptids or creatures or unexplained phenomena,
Folklore.
right? and we dive a little deep into each one, and we just make this like a mini series and kind of cover it. Maybe we scratch the surface.
Yeah.
But maybe we go a little deeper.
Yeah, it feels good. I mean, it's summertime right now. We don't have any hunting going on right now. Well, I mean, let's hunt.
Yeah.
Let's hunt some cryptos.
There you go. Let's get out there and see if we can't find Bigfoot out there in between them whitetail.
The cool thing is, it sounds like we all have a story to share. Most people do have stories. So like both Ben and Robert was saying already, let us know your stories. Let us share your stories. It'll
Even
be
if
fun.
it's not a story, y'all comment and tell us where you stand on this. You know, for some folks, it's like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't know anything. I've never seen anything. And then for some folks, it's like, man, I hunt this tree, this stand every year for the last 10 years. And here's what I see. Here's what I hear. I just kind of shook hands with it and said, hey, cool, you're here. I'm here. Let's enjoy it and then go home. You know, tell us your story. Maybe you have something that it'd be interesting to hear.
And when we say, tell us about it, it doesn't mean you've seen it. It could have been a sound. It could have been a smell.
Absolutely.
Because all those animals out there, they have their own smell too. So if you smell something out of whack, you're like, what the hell's that?
And you catch us out there long enough, and I start having a smell.
Yeah, you ain't lying. You ain't lying.
But I tell you what, man. I mean, we've opened the door to the conversation. We're gonna dive deeper and maybe make this a little series. We're having fun. I hope you guys are enjoying this. We're gonna be bringing you a little bit more in-depth conversation on each one of these. And today's episode was just talking about the strange and the unexplained. We may go into one full episode of Sasquatch. We might go one full episode of the Chupacabra. And we just kind of go from there. Again, if you have experience and you want to share it with us, we invite you to let us know in the comments. Shoot us an email. And we're going to be posting on social media too, basically trying to reach out to get people's feedback or experiences, and they're already coming in, so we're excited to be sharing those with you guys. Hopefully we can bring them on and be a guest on the podcast. If not, we're going to see if we can line up a phone call, maybe an email, and we just read it to you guys. But I just feel like it's fun to talk about.
Yeah, the experiences are out there, and I think the more we share them, the more validity we can give to, some of these different
Are we crazy
beings.
or are we not?
Are we crazy or are we not? And they may not, Ben said it already before. Maybe they're not here constantly. Maybe there's, there's poor. I'm not gonna. I don't know. Maybe
they're like us. They like to go to go down to Corpus and lay on the beach once in a while, and then they show up 2 months later.
Yeah. Because I tell you what, any three of us, if we were in the woods and didn't want to be seen, we wouldn't be seen. We wouldn't be found.
Yeah.
You got to remember, we're in their world.
We're in their world,
and they're smarter than we are in their world.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you guys are enjoying this because we just opened the conversation. We're just kind of tapping into this. We're going to be diving deeper. So if you like what you're seeing today, imagine what we put out when we get a little bit more in depth and we share these specific details about certain sightings, encounters, and stories. So we'll be doing that, guys. So stay tuned. Make sure you're locked in. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. This is the Cast and Blast podcast. Here is the Cast and Blast crew. We're going to be coming to you guys every week, bringing you a new podcast episode. And again, this is a fishing hunting podcast, but right now this is a special series about the strange and the unknown. We hope you guys are enjoying this. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.